Alright, I'm hoping that you're enjoying the video from last week where I did the desk organiser. Now when I was doing that, I had plans for it, obviously, as you were seeing during the video, but the one thing I was missing was really somewhere to keep those plans all together. What I have decided to build this week is a clipboard. Now yes, you can go and buy a cheap one, plastic one, for probably less than £1. I'm a woodworker, so why not make it out of wood? So it's going to have to cover at least a piece of A4 paper. I'll make it a little bit larger than the paper itself, and I'm going to be making out of scrap wood. The first thing I had to do is work out which bits of the scrap were going to be used and also how I was going to place them. Even having to think about some pieces that weren't square and how they could fit in once I got them trimmed down. If I wasn't making the clipboard out of scrap wood, then I would have probably just used two species and have one main bit and done two little strips, similar to how I've got the Superior and Padauk. I would have also treated it like a very thin chopping board. As I mentioned earlier, I had to think about some pieces that weren't square, so they were the first to be trimmed down and then ripped all the other pieces down to 15mm. The final thickness was 10mm, but I do prefer having it too thick to start with and then trimming it down on the thicknesser. How am I now going to glue all of these pieces up, because it's obviously, as I say, a patchwork. I can't just put them all onto my clamps because they'll fall through the gaps. I don't have enough clamps. I'll probably need about 6 of the long ones that I've got, but I've only got 4. So, how am I going to do it? Anybody? Please? Please?
A few moments later.
Well, I mean, I have dug into the deepest, darkest recesses of my workshop. And I found this spare bit of plywood, which is way bigger than what's needed. So what I might do is, I might mark it down to being oversized and then put them on here. Maybe put some green tape on first so they hopefully don't stick to it. And then clamp on here somehow. I started putting the green frog tape down on the plywood. Looking back and knowing what I know now, I should have maybe used the silicone mat as the cover. Keep watching to find out why. So when I was gluing the pieces up, I had to remember that some of them needed to be glued on 3 sides and not just 2. And let's be honest, I wasn't really too bothered about the squeeze out, as I was going to put it through the thicknesser so that would remove the actual squeeze out. And this is what I was referring to when I said earlier about should have been using a silicone mat, as the glue would not have stuck to it. It did take me a while to separate it, but finally I did have some success. On the table saw, I'm first off just making one straight edge and then trimming the other side down. Then I went on to using the miter saw to trim the ends. We move on to the thicknesser and also the router table, as I decided to put a round over on the edges. However, what I hadn't realised at first was there was one little bit of the edge that somehow got too thin, and so it had slipped on the guide on the router bit. On the sanding, I just used an 80 grit and 120 grit abrasives, and then hand sanding the edges. I was worried that if I used the actual sander on the edges that it would actually ruin them even more so than what I'd done on the router table. Let's just say that I bought these clipboard clips back in April this year, and so yes, this project has actually been on my mind for quite some time. The only snag is that you don't just buy one clip, because they come in a pack of 12, so I guess I've got another 11 clipboards to make sometime soon, or in the future. And I'm just using a clear finish, as I thought that would be best to bring out all of the different colours and grains of the different species of wood. And there we have it, one patchwork clipboard. Using up quite a few bits of scrap wood, but in a sense not enough scrap wood because I've still got loads left. I did have a little bit of difficulty with the clipboard itself, and that was more putting the little studs in at the back for the actual clip. It was pretty awkward, but I suppose they're designed for thinner material like plastic. They maybe didn't think somebody would actually make a clipboard out of wood, but I mean, why wouldn't you? And if you want to see some other scrap wood projects that I've done, check out this link to one of my videos, and at the end I'll also put a playlist for all my scrap wood projects, because there's quite a few now. So until the next time, Gan Canny Man.